Have you ever wondered why, after leaving a difficult relationship, some people find themselves becoming chronic apologizers, people pleasers, or battling feelings of imposter syndrome? And could this be linked to past manipulation? If you find yourself feeling responsible for other people's emotions, struggling with self worth, or constantly feeling like a burden, you might be recovering from a narcissist. These behaviors can become deeply ingrained, subtly shaping how you interact with others and perceive yourself long after the narcissist is no longer in your life. I've spent the last 20 years researching the deep connection between self worth and narcissistic relationships. As a coach, author, and someone who's lived these challenges, I know how painful these interactions can be. In this video, I'll share 5 surprising ways we behave after the narcissist, why we ended up with these habits, and actionable strategies to empower you to help break the pattern. Do you often find yourself trapped in a cycle of self-blame and doubt, feeling as though every problem is somehow your fault? This is the first surprising behavior you'll see after the narcissist: emotional vulnerability. Excessive self-blame and chronic self-doubt are common traits that you'll see in many people. However, these traits are particularly intense and persistent among those of us who have been in a narcissistic dynamic. What sets us apart is not just the frequency of these feelings, but how deeply they are ingrained. While many people feel guilty or doubt themselves when they make mistakes, those feelings typically resolve as situations change. However, for those of us recovering from a narcissist, every failure, no matter how small, can feel intensely personal and reflective of our worth. We end up with a deep rooted sense of inadequacy that has been systematically implanted through the manipulation we've experienced. It's not just a moment of doubt, it's a continuous loop. You might find yourself replaying conversations over and over in your mind, or berating yourself for perceived mistakes or shortcomings that might not even be real. This constant self criticism does more than just crush your confidence. It fundamentally distorts your reality, making it difficult to trust your own judgment. By constantly second guessing decisions, you become paralyzed in a cycle of doubt that's completely undeserved and unreflective of your true capabilities. Given the subtle yet persistent manipulation in a narcissistic dynamic, it's not surprising that we develop these intense feelings of self blame and doubt. In these types of relationships, every aspect of our behavior is often scrutinized and criticized, leading us to internalize the idea that we are always at fault. Time, this continuous negative feedback loop convinces us that we must be the problem, reinforcing feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness. And this is why, even after the relationship has ended, we continue to carry this burden, doubting ourselves and our worth long after the manipulation has ended. To empower yourself against self doubt and excessive self blame, here's a powerful affirmation: I trust my truth, I honor my feelings, I am not defined by my past. Trust your truth helps you validate your perceptions, countering doubts as they arise. Honor your feelings encourages you to acknowledge and respect your emotions, which is essential for rebuilding your self esteem. Release your past reinforces that your future is not dictated by past manipulations. Repeat this affirmation when you find yourself overly critical or feeling burdened. It's a quick way to realign your thoughts and affirm your worth. Do you often catch yourself scanning for hidden meanings in what other people say, or find it hard to relax in social situations? This is the second surprising behavior you'll see after being in a narcissistic dynamic: defensive adaptiveness. Hypervigilance and boundary issues are common not only for people who have been tangled with a narcissist, but also for anyone who's experienced any type of trauma. The tricky part about narcissistic abuse, though, is that many of us don't realize that it even happened or that we're suffering from a trauma in the first place. Long after the relationship has ended, we mysteriously find ourselves in this heightened state of alertness, feeling overly defensive, even in safe situations, and we might not know why. This often leads to oscillating between being overly vulnerable or overly defensive, complicating our ability to establish and maintain healthy personal relationships. This inconsistency can put a significant strain on those around us because it's impossible to connect with someone who's constantly guarded and overly sensitive. Whether we recognize it or not, in response to the persistent scrutiny and manipulation in the narcissistic relationship, we adopt these protective behaviors. Unconsciously, every situation is perceived as a potential conflict, prompting us to develop a system to guard ourselves against further harm. Even after leaving the relationship, this heightened sense of alertness can persist, making it difficult to lower our guard and to trust others. To empower yourself and manage your defenses more effectively, practice maintaining a grounded reality. Use this simple guideline: I stay aware, I maintain balance, I trust with discernment. Staying aware helps you remain conscious of your environment so you can acknowledge reality as it is rather than as you fear it might be. Maintaining balance means finding a middle ground between being overly defensive and overly vulnerable. Trusting with discernment means developing the ability to judge based on real observed behavior rather than past fears or overly optimistic expectations. If you'd like a copy of the tools I share, sign up below and you'll get a new 3-minute empowerment plan every week. Do you find yourself going out of your way to please others, apologizing when it's not necessary, or choosing to stay alone to avoid potential conflicts? This is the third surprising behavior you'll see after being in a narcissistic dynamic: emotional self-preservation. People-pleasing behaviors, compulsive apologizing, and isolation are adaptive responses that we often develop due to the fear of conflict and rejection. This excessive need to avoid displeasing others comes at a great personal cost. What sets this apart is not just a dislike of conflict, but an intense fear of potential emotional threats that might arise even from minor disagreements. While most people try to maintain harmony, those of us recovering from a narcissist may find ourselves unable to assert our own needs, constantly prioritizing other people's preferences to avoid any form of confrontation. And this isn't just about keeping the peace, it's about personal survival. You might find yourself repeatedly saying sorry as a quick way to diffuse situations that could escalate into a conflict. Or you might withdraw from social activities altogether to shield yourself from potential emotional pain. After years of intense scrutiny and criticism, it's understandable why we might adopt these kind of behaviors. Any sign of disagreement could have had harsh consequences, so you learn to behave in ways that minimize your visibility and potential for rejection. Unfortunately, these behaviors can persist long after the relationship has ended, continuing to impact your ability to connect with others. To empower yourself and regain control, practice assertiveness with this simple affirmation: I respect my needs, I build healthy connections. Respecting your needs helps you acknowledge and prioritize your desires and your requirements in any interaction. Building healthy connections involves the courage to express yourself clearly, to form relationships based on mutual respect and understanding rather than fear and avoidance. Do you ever feel like a fraud despite your successes, or find yourself putting acquaintances on a pedestal, expecting more from them than what's realistic? This is the fourth surprising behavior you'll see after being in a narcissistic dynamic: distorted self and social perception. Imposter syndrome and idealizing new relationships are traits that reflect altered perceptions both of yourself and of others. Imposter syndrome is the persistent internalized feelings of inadequacy, where you doubt your achievements and fear being exposed as a fraud. This often stems from the constant undermining of a narcissistic relationship where your true capabilities were being belittled or questioned. On the other hand, idealizing new relationships involves setting unrealistic expectations for others, often because of our unmet needs from previous abusive dynamics. This can lead to a cycle of disappointment and strained relationships, as no one can realistically meet these elevated expectations. It's not just about feeling unworthy or seeking perfection in others. It's a deeper distortion of how you view yourself and those around you. You might overlook your own worth and contributions, constantly feeling like you're not measuring up. Or you might expect new people in your life to fill voids that are not their responsibility. These skewed perceptions can hinder your ability to form healthy, realistic relationships and appreciate your own value. Given the profound impact of narcissistic manipulation, it's understandable that you might see yourself and others in a distorted light. Narcissistic dynamics often involve significant emotional manipulation that can distort your self image and expectations of others, making it difficult to see things as they truly are. To empower yourself, practice maintaining a grounded reality with this straightforward affirmation: no one else defines me. Using this affirmation helps you stay aware of your own worth and capabilities and to acknowledge reality as it is, not as you fear it might be or as others have described it. This affirmation also helps you build trust based on true interactions and personal judgment, free from the shadows of your past. Do you find it hard to identify what you're feeling or struggle with expressing your emotions clearly to others? This is the fifth surprising behavior you'll see after a narcissistic dynamic: difficulty with emotion. When you're tangled with a narcissist, you quickly learn that showing your emotions isn't just unimportant, it's actually dangerous. Narcissists teach you that any expression of feelings can be used against you, turning your emotions into liabilities. This harsh environment forces you to suppress your feelings, and over time, this can make it incredibly difficult to recognize them and to express them safely, even after the relationship has ended. As a result, your true emotions often remain buried, leading to deep misunderstandings and persistent frustrations in your relationships. This isn't just about the ability to communicate emotions, it's about the deeper challenge of even being able to recognize them in yourself. You might feel detached from your feelings or struggle with identifying what you're actually experiencing or how to appropriately express these emotions. This detachment can hinder your ability to form genuine relationships and navigate social situations effectively. Since you had to train yourself into avoiding or hiding emotions to survive the narcissist, it's understandable why these habits might persist. This ongoing defense mechanism makes it difficult to lower your guard and to interact openly and honestly with others. To better understand and express your emotions, practice this simple emotional check in. Identify and name the specific emotion you're feeling. If you're unsure, start by looking at fear or anger, shame, sadness, or joy. Ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling right now? It's important to understand that all emotions are valid. Each one holds valuable information and feedback. Naming your emotions is a powerful step towards empowerment. Regular practice of this check in can sharpen your emotional awareness, making it easier for you to understand and communicate your feelings. Mastering the emotional check in is essential for anyone, especially for those of us who struggle with healthy boundaries. But here's the deal: now that you've learned what happens after the narcissist, you need to understand the hidden motivation behind their behavior. So click this video next to learn the 3 secrets that all narcissists keep and arm yourself with strategies to shield your emotional well-being. Discover how to spot the signs, cut through manipulation, and step into your power.